uh, two people joining us tonight, Dan Jakes and Maria Monks, both from the representing the Lockwood Mill project. And they're going to brief you on what this amendment to these two amendments to the TIF, actually two TIFs, are about. It should be a brief presentation, and there will be some, I believe, so that you can have an understanding of what they're really asking for. Before we get started, out that this came to us at the initiative of the Lockwood Mills Group, and if you approve these amendments, there will be no negative impact to the city revenue stream coming from the Mills project. So Dan.
Thank you, Steve. So I'm Dan Jakes with North River Company, and Mariah Monk's a business partner is also on, and she's going to share a few slides. Would you start with the first slide, please, Mariah?
Yeah. Can you guys see it?
Yes.
So the vision that we have for Lockwood Mills is one that, if you've seen the building lately, allows us to re-energize a very busy intersection and the lead into the downtown as well as the Winslow market. So when we originally came for the affordable housing TIF in 2019, we wanted to do a little bit in two different buildings. Could you go to slide 2, please, Mariah? The aerial view here will kind of show how the Hathaway building, the CMP building, and the former Martin's building intersect with each other.
Next slide, Dan.
Yes, please. Number 2.
Nothing is working tonight.
Yeah.
Can you guys, I can see it on my screen. Can you not?
No. It might just be loading. So from an aerial view, the Hathaway building is fully complete. We've owned that for a while now. And looking at the two distressed mills next to us, the former CMP building and the original Lockwood Mill number 1, closest to the bridge in downtown, were quite distressed. So when we came to the council in 2019, we wanted to do an affordable housing project, and that was approved. And over the last 18 months, we've participated in weekly planning exercises to try to make this historical renovation in a very high profile property possible as an affordable housing project. As you can imagine, whether you've been in it or not, it's an enormous undertaking in many ways, logistically and financially. These are the biggest hurdles. So our budget's grown by several million due to construction costs and the existing conditions of the mill. So there are some financial challenges. Out of that, we have modified our original plan that we came to the city with. We've consolidated the footprint of those apartments. There's 65 that they are on one building, Mill 1. And able to do that, we needed to add 4,000 square feet to the footprint. You can get to the 4th slide, Mariah. The first one's still showing.
Are you looking at the, can you see this?
Right. I think if you unshare, get to your 4th slide and then reshare, I think we'll be able to see it.
All right.
So we've modified the original plan, and by doing that, the 65 units will all be in one building now, rather than 21 in the former CMP building and the remainder in the former Martin's building. In this picture, you can see kind of a layout of the apartments, and the gold or orange area is what we are asking for an amendment tonight. So we're going from 1.556 acres to 1.63 acres, which is approximately 4,000 square feet. So in that orange footprint, we've got 3 apartments, a mailroom, a bike room, and an elevator bank. And that's how we were able to compress everything and have it a little bit more affordable for this first phase. So simply said, the consolidation was necessary to save the project. And what we're hoping tonight is that that original TIF could be amended and enable us to increase the section of the TIF by the 1,000 square feet. The next slide will show the 1.63. So the little blue sliver here is the part that we're talking about tonight. The green is what we came to you in 2019, and the yellow was from the original TIF, which was economic development related when it was created. So this green one is all about affordable housing.
Dan, anything else?
I think that that has set the stage for questions and comments from the counselors.
Yeah, I guess I just add one thing. So just simply stated, this blue portion right here, this is what we want to include in the affordable housing TIF, which is the green. And we'd like to remove it from the DCD TIF, which is represented by the yellow. So 2 amendments to 2 different TIFs.
Councillor Klepak and then Councillor Frankie.
Hey, Dan. Thank you for coming before us today. Why was the blue sliver originally, why is it excluded? Why, I don't, fill me in a little bit on the history here.
So we were going to do 21 units on the second floor of Mill 3, which is the CMP building in the original.
Yeah.
And instead of having 2 sets of plumbing, 2 sets of roofing, 2 sets of everything, we were able to lower the cost of the project by stacking those 21 units that used to be in Mill 3 on top of each other in this blue section.
I see.
So right where we
right
where we came into the building, it's immediately to the left, just to give us a little more space.
Yeah, I got you now. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Frankie.
Oh, okay. So we're just shifting things around a little bit to take your blue section out of the old TIF, and then put it in the TIF that you're doing right now. That's my first question. The second question is, as I understand, you're not changing the number of affordable housing units in the total project.
So that's correct. There'll be 47 out of 65 that are affordable housing units. They're a combination of 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, and 3 bedroom in the 65 units. So 29 are 1 bedroom, 22 are 2 bedroom, 14 are 3 bedrooms, and they're spread evenly across the 4 floors of this phase.
Anything else, Claude, or are you all set for now?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Councillor Klepak.
And Dan, so how many years was remaining on the original TIF that's described in yellow?
So we weren't part of that original TIF, but I think that it was in the 2007 to 2009 area. I think Eric might have more detail than I do on that original TIF.
I think it was a 30-year TIF, and we're like
10,
7 to 8 years into it.
The original TIF was approved in 2008, I believe. Paul Bogosian bought the building from the city in 2007. And soon after that, original TIF was approved for all 3 buildings. And then, of course, as we know, in 2019, the other 2 buildings that Dan and Mariah have been talking about were removed from that and put into their own TIF. Did anybody mention that the TIF advisory committee did review this a couple of weeks ago and recommending approval to the city council.
Yeah. I guess what I'm getting at is I'm trying to show how through this question how it, even though it's a small change, it is beneficial to the city because part of this valuation is now moving into a longer term horizon TIF. Am I correct about that? Even though it's modest.
Yes, even though it's modest at 25%, you're right. We are going to have a 30-year, whereas the original TIF, starting in 2008, has already gone 12 years or so.
Yeah, and I'm not even talking about the 25% in terms of the cash back, because the return to the city is small, but it's also an effect on the valuation of the city. Is that
right? And of course, many other important reasons why, also with the downtown being the way it's being renovated.
Mm-hmm.
Councilor Thomas, and then Councilor Green.
So I guess just to sort of boil this down and hopefully make it a little clearer. So the yellow TIF was created and it included all three of the buildings down there. And that was when the original Hathaway project was undertaken. And I think the original vision was that these projects were going to be done more closely to each other at that time. And then, of course, over time, we now have new owners down there. I think Dan and his group originally acquired the Hathaway and then later acquired these other two buildings. And they are taking on an affordable housing project in the two new buildings. Originally, the CMP building, I'm not sure who's feeding back, but I'm getting somebody's audio. And so originally, phase one of the project they're working on now was going to include a big chunk of the old Martin's industrial building and the CMP building. And then with the change in construction costs and for various other reasons, they've decided to move the CMP building out of phase one. It could theoretically be in phase two later on, but they're moving the units that were going to be in that building over into the Martin's building because that's part. They secured their financing through Maine State Housing, and their financing is tied to delivering a certain number of affordable housing units. And so they've moved those units from the CMP building into the Martin's building. So it's really just a matter of how the project phases at this point. And originally they were going to move the CMP building back into the other TIF, but there's really no point in that at this time until something is going to happen with that building. It doesn't matter which district it resides in. Likely it may end up being in its own district later on when they're ready to, if they actually move forward with that project, depending on how long it takes for them to move forward. And that's where we stand today. I think councilors got a tour. Some councilors got a tour of the Martin's industrial building today. You can see the challenges of that building and why a credit enhancement agreement is necessary. One of the things we ask when we're talking about whether a TIF is necessary and a credit enhancement agreement is, would this project happen without a TIF? And in this case, there is no way this project would happen without a TIF. And so I'm fully in support of this change.
We can definitely use the affordable housing. Councilor Green.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to have a tour today, and it is pretty impressive, and we're really fortunate that this project can go ahead. So I'm definitely in support of the project. I just have a question about the two TIFs, the yellow. I'm just trying to get clear about whether they're all housing TIFs or if one is economic development and one is housing, and then what the what are the assigned uses for the TIF money that we'll receive from this green TIF?
I'll take
Mike,
that.
it looks like you're.
Mike is on mute. He's on mute, and then Eric, you can go.
So yeah, the yellow is an economic development TIF. The green is a housing TIF.
Okay.
And the TIF documents have the development program, so what exactly the allowable uses for the TIF money are. My understanding, the housing TIFs are actually a little more flexible because that money could, for example, be directed to offsetting the school budget, which you cannot do with money from an economic development TIF. And Mike can probably speak more to that.
Yeah, Eric's exactly right about that. That's an important distinction between housing TIFs and economic development TIFs. With housing TIF, all of the city's funds can be applied to really any budget need, whereas the economic development ones are much, much more restricted. Your question about what the Hathaway economic development money can be spent on is basically almost the same things that we identified for the downtown TIF. So basically the same kind of uses the money is used for.
But the total of what we're talking about here for the housing TIF is only about 17 grand for the city per year. Right? I mean, not a huge amount of money.
I think that's correct. Yeah.
It's not a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're adding, we're basically swapping out a piece from economic development into housing, correct?
Yeah, and getting 63 units out of it. So
Yeah. Awesome.
Which we definitely need.
And getting the future of Waterville out of it, which is the proper development of this property.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anybody else before we move to the regular meeting? What could happen?
Claude has his hand up.
Oh, I can't see him. I'm sorry, Claude. The thing is all. Go ahead, Claude.
Okay. Just to be clear, the benefit to the city is you've got property that is not doing anything. In other words, it's got basically zero taxable value, and we're getting it developed. In order to do that, the credit enhancement agreement is a way for the city to subsidize the developer by giving them back part of the taxes that will be collected as the value of the property increases due to the development. So this is actually a partnership between the city and the developer to take worthless land and turn it into productive land. That in sum is what TIFs are supposed to do, improve the overall picture of the city, and eventually when the TIF comes to an end, it'll be valuable taxable property for the city. That's 30 years down the road, but that's what you're always looking at in terms of a TIF is the big picture.
And that's why we like Claude to look at all the little picture stuff. All right. Anyone else? All right. I think we're good here, Patty. We just said a lot of here, move to the regular meeting, Patty.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Let me bring up my cheat sheet so I can get Rick to lead us again. All right. Good evening. This is a regularly scheduled meeting of the Waterville City Council. There are agendas available online on the city's website. All items appearing on the consent agenda are voted on in one motion and vote. Generally, these items are routine in nature and do not require discussion. All items listed under unfinished business or new business are voted on separately. First, councilors will be given an opportunity for questions or comments. Once all councilors have had an opportunity to speak, citizens will be given an opportunity for comments or questions. Citizens must speak and identify themselves. Each citizen will be allowed one opportunity to speak and will be limited to 3 minutes. Finally, the councilors will be given another opportunity to speak or comment. Citizens who would like to speak on a topic that does not appear on tonight's agenda will have an opportunity to do so at the end of the meeting. Can we all rise for a pledge? Rick, can you lead us?
Yep. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Play ball.
We're going to try. Let's see. Is there a motion for the passage of the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second,
Patty, can I do a roll call?
Council Morris,
Yes.
Council Oliveira,
Yes.
Council Klepak,
Oh, yeah.
Council Green,
Yes.
Council Foss,
Yes.
Council Frankie,
Yes.
Council Thomas.
yes.
Vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
All right. Do we have any conflict? I skipped the conflict of interest. I'm sorry, guys. Anybody got a conflict of interest? No. Let's see one. And manager's report.
Ready?
Yep.
Those of you who haven't been to Castongoe Square this week, you should visit. The center building, formerly the Stearns building, is being raised as we speak. It started yesterday. They took off the back, actually the southeast corner of the building, and they've started moving toward Main Street. It's happening fast. It's a crowd gatherer. We've had a number of people sitting in the park, eating their lunches and taking pictures of what's going on. It's quite impressive to watch the piece of equipment that they have that's actually disassembling the building. As we all know, that's part of a project by Colby College where they're going to replace that building with a brand new building that's going to be an arts and theater center that will connect to the Waterville Opera House. By the way, the bridge between the Opera House and the Stearns building was taken down last week. This coming week, weekend actually, I think it is, from May 9th to May 12th, FEMA is going to conduct a COVID vaccine event at the Waterville LaFleur Airport. I don't have the exact hours for that, but the announcement is being posted on our website. It's a free clinic, so there's no charge to anyone who will go there to get vaccinated. The fire chief and the police chief had major roles in getting this set up so that the public can get to the site and everything can be conducted in an orderly and safe fashion. We want to thank FEMA for doing this and also for being willing to reimburse the city for any costs that we incur. Some of you may have noticed, if you traveled down Main Street this week, that the Jersey barriers that were intended to cordon off the area in front of Amici's and Opa away from the sidewalk, probably, I think it's 4 to 6 feet away from the sidewalk, the curb line rather. Those were put in place last Friday morning, and yesterday, Monday morning, after examining the original plan to put ramps in to bring people down onto the pavement of the street so they could walk around the dining area on the sidewalk, that plan didn't work out. And we started to look at building wooden platforms to butt up against the curb to carry pedestrians and wheelchair-bound people around the dining area. That didn't work out either because it was going to cost them quite a bit of money just to fit everything in there. So the people that we had working with us came up with the idea of pouring concrete between the barriers and the curb line, and it's worked out beautifully. If you want to go by and take a look at it, it's still a little bit rough. It has to be cleaned up. But the beauty of it is that they laid plastic sheeting on the road surface, up over the curb line and up over the top of the Jersey barriers before they poured the concrete. So when it comes time to remove it, all they have to do is jackhammer the concrete. It won't stick. It hasn't stuck to the pavement underneath, and they can just take it out in pieces. It was a quick solution. It was a lot less costly than the wooden platforms, and it's going to be a lot sturdier through the period of its use. And again, easily removed. The Public Works Department is going to survey the directional signs that we have in and around the downtown area, directing motorists to public parking areas. They're going to replace old and worn out signs. They're going to put up new signs. And all of this is in an effort to help people get off of Main Street while the construction is going on, off of Front Street as well, and get into parking areas that are off street and available to them. It's possible this could also bring about a behavioral change for motorists in the downtown area. We had a meeting today talking about Webb Road and whether or not we should resurface that, when we should resurface it, in relation to what I've previously told you about the Maine DOT replacing the I-95 bridge over Webb Road. And as a result of this meeting, we know that the state funding that's going to help us pay for reclaiming and resurfacing Webb Road is probably not going to be available to us in time to do that work this summer. But we also are concerned about the heavy traffic that might be occurring on Webb Road. And as you may recall, I proposed that we put that off for a year in a previous meeting. We're still going to do that, but in the meantime, we are looking into putting in a shim coat of hot top to deal with all of the bumps and crevices and dips on Webb Road. That's estimated to cost about $36,000. And that will carry us through this summer, probably through the winter as well, until we get to the point where we're going to reclaim the entire road. The nice thing about it is that the material that will be put down will be part of the reclaimed material that will be used again to reconstruct the road after that's done. So we're looking into that right now, and I expect that we're going to be able to do that early in the summertime. On the budget, one of the things that has happened, which I think happens every year with the budget, is that as time goes by, mistakes are found that need to be corrected. Numbers change because original estimates proved not to be accurate, especially when it comes to revenue from outside sources. Those numbers can change with some frequency. What we're going to do with the budget that we've presented to you is in the council library site that we posted the budget for you in, we're going to update the budget as these changes occur. So before each budget meeting, I would ask you to go to that site and check to see what version you have of the budget. And we're going to label the versions so that you'll know what the newest one is. The updated versions are going to lead off with a front page that lists all of the changes that have been made to date and what changes are in the version, what new changes are in the version that you're looking at. And then finally, I'd like to gleefully announce that the bids came in on the taxiway reconstruction at the airport. They're totaling about $4.5 million, and that's going to be 100% funded by the FAA. So we're doing okay. That's my report.
All right, you got a lot of thumbs up and fist bumps for that airport one, and definitely Webb Road. I think even Claude may have cracked a smile. Let's move on to unfinished business. Ordinance 93, 2021, Patty.
I'd make a motion to take the entire agenda by title only.
Second.
Roll call on that. Oh,
Council Morris,
Yes.
I think, did you have something to say, Claude?
Well, I just wondered about the consent agenda. Did we vote on that?
Yes,
yes, we did.
Okay,
I messed up. I did that before I did the manager's report. That was my
okay,
fault.
thank you.
Thank you. So this is a motion to read all items by title only. Council Oliveira,
Yes.
Council Klepak,
Yes.
Council Green,
Yes.
Council Foss,
Yes.
Council Frankie,
Yes,
Council Thomas.
Yes.
The vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed. On to Ordinance 93, 2021, an ordinance providing for amendment to zoning.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any discussion? Claude, Council Frankie.
just a quick point of order. On my agenda, it's got in parentheses Thomas College. Shouldn't that be read as part of the title?
It could be, yes. I can include Thomas College. My apologies.
Thank you. I just think that makes it a little bit clearer for those people who are listening at home.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, Patty, can I get a roll call?
Council Morris,
Yes.
Council Oliveira. Yes. Council Klepak,
Yes.
Council Green,
Yes.
Council Foss,
Yes.
Council Frankie,
Yes,
Council Thomas.
Yes.
The vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
On to Ordinance 94, 2021.
An ordinance providing for amendment to zoning ordinance and licenses and permits ordinance, short-term rentals.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, I will move to roll call.
Council Morris,
Yes.
Council Oliveira,
Yes.
Council Klepak,
Yes.
Council Green,
Yes.
Council Foss,
Yes.
Council Frankie,
yes,
Council Thomas.
Yes.
Vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
Moving on to Ordinance 95, 2021.
An ordinance providing for amendment to licenses and permits ordinance Appendix A.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, Patty, can I move to roll call?
Council Morris,
Yes.
Council Oliveira,
Yes.
Council Klepak,
Yes.
Council Green,
Yes.
Council Foss,
Yes.
Council Frankie,
yes,
Council Thomas.
Yes.
The vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
Moving on to Order 96, 2021.
An order providing for approval of lease for sign installation First Park.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, Patty, can I get a roll call?
Council Morris,
Yes.
Council Oliveira,
Yes.
Council Klepak,
Yes.
Council Green,
Yes.
Council Foss,
Yes.
Council Frankie,
yes,
Council Thomas.
Yes.
The vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, moving on to new business. Order 103, 2021.
An order providing for amendment to Lockwood Mills Municipal Development and Tax Increments Financing District and related development program.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any discussion? Councilor Frankie.
which amendment are we voting on first? Is this the taking it out or the putting it in?
I believe we are taking it out first before we put it in.
This,
Can we confirm that? I don't want to tell Claude the wrong thing. All right, so yes.
That's why I asked.
That's it. Eric's shaking his head yes, so I'm taking that as a yes, Claude. We are taking it out before we put it in.
Well, one other quick point. This we're amending the TIF, so these are orders that we'll have to vote on again at the next meeting. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, Patty, can I get a roll call?
Council Morris,
Yes.
Council Oliveira,
Yes.
Council Klepak,
Yes.
Council Green,
Yes.
Council Foss,
Yes.
Council Frankie,
Yes.
Council Thomas.
Yes.
The vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
Okay, moving on to Order 104/2021. Putting it in, Claude, putting it in now.
An order providing for amendment to Lockwood Mills Apartments Affordable Housing Development and Increment Financing District and related development program.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any discuss, Claude, good?
Just very quickly, a thank you to the nice folks from the Lockwood Development Group who came and explained what they were doing to us. They came and explained it to the TIF committee last week, and I really think this is a good thing that we're moving ahead with for Waterville. Thank you, folks.
I agree with you. Anyone else? Seeing none, Patty, can I get a roll call?
Council Morris,
Yes.
Council Oliveira,
Yes.
Council Klepak,
Yes.
Council Green,
Yes.
Council Foss,
Yes.
Council Frankie,
Yes.
Council Thomas.
Yes.
The vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
All right, moving on to Resolution 105/2021.
A resolution providing for support for Alpine Youth and Community Center.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Before councilors speak, I believe Ken Walsh is here to give a slight presentation. Anybody's got objections, wants to speak first? If not, I'd like to bring Ken in to say some stuff. Can we make him a panelist though? So he can actually turn on the camera? If he wants to.
We just did. He's a panelist now.
Am I on?
You are.
Okay. Well, it's a pleasure to be here, and it's a pleasure to be a Waterville resident. My family moved here about 3 years ago, and I'm telling you, what's happening with Waterville Renaissance, the councilors, the mayor, city manager, all the things that are happening is just tremendous. And for the Alpine Youth and Community Center to be a part of it in our small way, providing the essential childcare, food insecurity opportunities, and now with major issues with mental health, we're looking forward to continue to serve Waterville residents in many different facets for all ages. And so I appreciate when the mayor did approach us about funds for our organization. I was thinking about the history. The Boys and Girls Club was established in 1924 because of the city of Waterville. The mayor at that point thought it was extremely important for kids to have something to do during out of school time. And for now close to 100 years, we're still doing this and we're still on the move. The only merged Y Boys and Girls Club in the country, serving over 5,000 youth members. But as I keep saying, recreation is economic development. As you see in Quarry Road, you see what's going on North Street, you see what's happening in our college systems. It's really making a huge difference in the lives in our community. So about 20 years ago, we received allocations, and things were hard, things were challenging economically. I understand that there are things that needed to be done and cut. However, the AYCC, Boys and Girls Club Y, we continue to do what we were doing and continue to serve the most disadvantaged community citizens, and we will continue to do that. So once again, thank you for the consideration. Thanks for the opportunity, and we appreciate the help.
All right. Let's see. Rick Foss.
So Ken, thank you for being here tonight. You know, I'm one of your biggest supporters, and I told you that when we talked about the ice arena that I'd be down there day one with a shovel and a hard hat and an orange vest, putting the hands in the dirt with you. So don't take what I'm about to say the wrong way. $10,000 worth of extra spending in our budget. I need to see all the final numbers before I can say yes tonight. This resolution and the next one coming up. I can't say yes quite yet. When we get all the final numbers and we actually go to the budget votes, that's when you'll see those yeses. So.
Rick, I appreciate your honesty and laying on the line, and I totally understand where you come from. And once again, you know, if we could be partners, we're looking forward to be partners. And if there's some support, we're very grateful. Thank you.
Anyone else? Claude?
Was that a motion to table, Rick?
No, that was not a motion to table.
Eric, Councilor Thomas.
Well, to speak to Rick's point, Jay and I discussed this and when to bring these in front of the council. And I think we wanted to get a commitment that these things were going to be in the budget, as early as possible so that these organizations can start making plans. And in this case, these funds, I believe, are going to be coming out of TIF funds. That is money we have in our account already that is not currently committed to anything else. These were some of the monies that we discovered we had and also were freed up now that we're no longer obligated to spend the money we've been setting aside at the Hathaway for the intersection. And so funding these things or not funding them is going to have exactly zero impact on the tax rate. These are TIF funds that we have in our account. We can afford this. Things like childcare and transportation are, barriers for some people entering the workforce or working more if they're already in the workforce. And I think it's important. Ken's organization is an amazing, asset in this community. They're an organization with a proven track record. It's something the city should be supporting. And not only that, but I'm not sure why this didn't make it into the resolution, but this is supposed to be a commitment to funding for the next 3 years because, obviously you can't get a good handle on an effectiveness of a program like this in 1 year. And it allows them to do some more long-term planning if we make a commitment. I think eventually I will offer that as an amendment, but I'm going to allow the discussion to continue here first before I offer that as an amendment.
Councilor Foss.
I'm going to motion to table this then so that we can get all of that verbiage into this piece of paper, because right now I'm voting on $10,000 on 1 year with no explanation of where the funding is coming. So that's my motion to table this for right now.
Second.
Anyone else? Patty, can I get a vote on that amendment to?
Councilor Klepak.
Sorry, Klepak, I see you. Go ahead, Tom.
So I share Councilor Foss's concern with the funding side, but I also wanted to ask Ken a little bit more, one question more specifically about the other side of the equation. Is this money just going to go into your general fund, or is specifically earmarked? Maybe I missed that. Is it specifically earmarked for some specific program? What will the cash what's the outcome of this exact money going to be?
Yeah, great question. So Tom, like in any grant, we could direct those funds to Waterville residents. And the way I look at it, it's towards our licensed childcare program. So parents, single parents, children that need that free license opportunity, we would utilize those funds for those families of need. So they would come after school, they would get fed, academic enhancements. So everything on the left side of that building you see, the licensed childcare part, that's where those funds would go towards.
And as Ken said, I approached, oh, sorry, go ahead, Tom. I'll let you finish. No.
And Mr. Walsh, Ken, how in you know, we're going through a pretty remarkable time right now. Would this additional money, I'm sure this additional money would always be welcome. Is there, can you talk specifically about any acute need right now that particular part of your organization has?
Can I just make a point of order, and Claude, maybe you can chime in on this. I believe we should vote on the motion to table before we just continue discussion.
That's correct, Eric.
All right. Patty, can I get a vote on the motion first?
Council Morris,
No.
Council Oliveira,
Yes.
Council Klepak,
To be clear, this is a vote on the motion to table. So if we're going to table it, we're not going to, just so everyone knows.
Yes.
Council Klepak,
Sure.
Council
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Council Foss,
Yes.
Council Frankie,
Yes.
Council Thomas.
No.
The vote is 5 in favor and 2 opposed.
And so and there was no clear date on when to table. I assume it's to the next regularly scheduled meeting.
And does that do the discussion right now?
Yes.
Yeah.
What tabling it does means we're not going to talk about it anymore.
Yeah. So that means that we have 2 weeks for you to talk to either Ken Walsh or Eric and get up to speed, Tom, and indeed all of us. This is an opportunity to find out a little bit more about this before we move on.
Councilor Green.
Yeah, and I would say, you know, the information as to what this money would go to specifically is very important. And so having details on that, I think, is pertinent to the decision. I also, I do feel that we should be looking at the budget at first before we earmark funds, as much as I am also a staunch supporter of the Alpine Center. So it's nothing to do with that institution, just the process.
Yeah.
Well, I have a question as well along those lines.
Good.
So even if we voted approval, even if we had voted approval of this, it's all still pending budget negotiations, right? Any of this is all pending budget negotiations. So whatever we decide on any of these resolutions today, whether we add them or not, they could still be cut depending upon how we vote on the budget in the coming months. Or am I not understanding that process?
Yeah, I understood about this.
You're pretty much on spot on.
Right.
And there are some things that were missing from this. It should have been in there that what we were earmarking it for, because that when Ken and I first discussed this, it was in there that's for childcare for families on the bubble that live in Waterville. It was earmarked specifically for Waterville families, not any other community. I'm not sure why that information wasn't in there, or why the other part of that wasn't in there also. So Ken, I apologize if that wasn't ready for you, but we're going to get this worked out so that by the next meeting we're good to go.
Again, it's a pleasure being here, and I thank you for at least the consideration.
Councilor Green?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that I know that other communities have a process, and I understand. Again, these are wonderful, essential nonprofits that we have in our community. But I'm just wondering if we might in future open up the opportunity to present a proposal so that other
organizations, I can think of many that do good work in Waterville might be considered. And then we could look at them as, you know, as a range of choices.
So we're clear that we've got that baked into the budget. So if other organizations wanted to seek revenue or help from the city, there is a line item for $100,000 a year to be able to fund initiatives just like this.
Okay.
And we had put that line item in. If we had included the Alpine Center, we had the Boys and Girls Club. If we did go through with KV Cap and some of the others, there was still plenty of money left over to go and help other organizations. So that's sort of what we had in there. But Councilor Thomas?
I would just reiterate what Jay said. You know, we discussed putting an amount in the budget for these organizations to be able to come and request funding. And then Jay had approached me about the Alpine Youth Center and KV Cap. I had discussed Waterville Creates with him. And then, you know, the funding that we had discussed for those three organizations would amount to, I believe, about $45,000, which would leave another $55,000 in the budget that's eligible for other organizations to come and make requests to the city. And I do think it's, you know, the city has not been a great community partner over the last 6 or 7 years or so. These organizations do outstanding things. The money that goes into them gets multiplied many times in the services that they provide. And I think it's time for the city to step up and be a financial partner with these organizations.
I couldn't agree more. Oh, sorry. I should wait my turn.
I'll let you finish, Councilor Green, and then Rick Foss.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more that the city should support nonprofits. Please don't misunderstand me. I just want to make sure that there is a process for others to apply, and it sounds like there is. So I guess I'm not completely sure about why we're earmarking for a certain ones and not considering all applications at once.
Because they don't all come up at once. Just like I won't visit with the homeless shelter for another 2 weeks. Councilor Foss?
Mayor, I'd remind the Councilor Thomas that we just gave the AYCC a nice piece of property and spent a little bit of money on a slide not so long ago. So yes, we're not directly handing them cash, but there is a growing partnership there. Just want to make sure that's on the record.
Hey, Rick, I just want to clear that the slide, that's the pool, that's municipality. That's not.
Yes. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
Anybody else? All right. Then we are going to move on to resolution 106, 105, 106, 2021.
A resolution.
I'm sorry, Councilor Oliveira, before we move.
Yes, I forgot to mention that I do have an interest of conflicts with the next item, which is the Kennebec Valley Community Action, because I sit on the board of directors.
That's 107. That'll be the one after the 106.
Yeah, 107.
Okay, so resolution 106, 2021.
A resolution providing for support for Central Maine Growth Council.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Councilor Frankie, and then Councilor Thomas.
I think the Growth Council is a nice organization. If Waterville is really serious about economic development, we should do things ourselves rather than to farm it out to another organization that we have no control over. Therefore, I'm going to ask that I'm going to make a motion that we table this item until we can have further discussion about how to go forward with economic development in the city.
I will second that.
Patty, can I vote on that, please?
Council Morris,
No.
Council Oliveira,
No.
Counselor Klepak,
Yes.
Counselor Green,
Yes.
Counselor Foss,
Yes.
Counselor Frankie,
yes,
Counselor Thomas.
No.
The vote is 4 in favor and 3 opposed.
Okay, so let's move right on to 10721, and Flavia, you've got a conflict, so you can't vote on this one.
Yes.
A resolution providing for support for Kennebec Valley Community Action Program.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Patty, any discussion on this one?
I'm going to motion to, sorry, my apologies, Mayor.
Go ahead, Rick.
Again, this is another spending before budget talks. I'm going to motion to table it so that we can discuss it as an entire package. Sorry, not sorry.
second,
Patty, can I get a vote on that?
Counselor Morris,
no,
Counselor Klepak,
Isn't it Counselor Oliveira first?
she's abstaining from this
You've got
vote.
a conflict, please.
Oh, right. And the motion is to table. Yeah, I think we should table these.
Okay, Counselor Green,
Yes.
Counselor Foss,
Yes.
Counselor Frankie,
yes,
Counselor Thomas,
No.
4 in favor and 2 opposed.
All right, resolution 108-2021.
A resolution providing for contract renewal Eco Maine.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any discussion? City manager, go ahead.
This is a pretty much a routine contract renewal. The company is the same company that we've been doing business with for a while. This is a 1-year extension on the contract at $115 per ton for disposal of recyclables. It's no change in price, and there are no viable options at this point, but we want to do it only for a year to be able to evaluate any other alternatives that should show themselves over that period of time.
Councilor Frankie.
in the documents that we were given, it seemed that Eco Maine had put out a couple of alternatives. Would you explain why the 1-year option is the best option?
I believe I did. The reason is so that we can keep our options open over the next year, seeking a better arrangement with a different company. I believe Matt Skane is with us tonight. He may be able to answer some questions that are more detailed than that.
Right. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
yes, sir.
Yeah, I guess I could. Steve, thank you. I think that does pretty much sum it up. It keeps our options open over the next year. I just think it's our safest bet, just because really there are no options for us. There was an interesting one, the revenue cost share program, but it was for a term of 3 years. So I just don't think we want to get into that right now.
Councilor Frankie.
So are there other options that you see developing on the horizon over the course of the next year?
Yeah, I mean, right. There's nothing firm and concrete, Counselor, but there are a couple other companies that might be a little more local to us. So we may be able to eliminate, for example, transportation charges, which are significant as well.
I see. Thank you.
Yeah.
We truck this to Portland, is it, Matt?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah.
From Norwich Walk to, well, Waste Management trucks it for us. Yeah. Yeah.
Who services Bangor?
I'm not sure.
Anyone else? All right, Patty, can I get a roll call?
Counselor Morris,
Yes,
Counselor Oliveira, Counselor Oliveira,
We can't hear you. You can vote on this one. This is Eco Maine.
Flavia, can you hear us?
Shake your head if you can hear us.
I'm guessing she can't hear us.
No, it says connecting to audio.
Okay. Counselor
Yes, you
Klepak,
Yes.
Counselor Green,
Yes.
Counselor Foss,
Yes.
Counselor Frankie,
Yes.
Counselor Thomas,
Yes.
Counselor Oliveira.
Yes, my audio was off.
That's fine. So the vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
Thank you.
All right. Let's move on to Resolution 109, 2021.
A resolution providing for renewal of a special amusement permit to Colby College, the president and trustees of Colby doing business as Joseph's Family Spa.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any discussion? Counselor Klepak.
I just wanted to state that though an employee of Colby College, I do not feel that I actually have a conflict of interest because I am pretty far removed from whatever this is.
I agree. It doesn't seem, I don't know, do you work at the spa? So,
I've already even gone to the spa.
all right. Anybody else? All right, seeing none, Patty, can I get a roll call?
Counselor Morris,
Yes.
Counselor Oliveira,
Yes.
Counselor Klepak,
Yes.
Counselor Green,
Yes.
Counselor Foss,
Yes.
Counselor Frankie,
Yes.
Counselor Thomas.
Yes.
47 in favor and 0 opposed.
All right, moving on to Resolution 110, 2021.
A resolution providing for approval of contract for IT services.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any discussion? Counselor Frankie.
But
And then-
Steve,
and
this
then-
is this is just more updating our contracts with neighboring jurisdictions, is it not?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
This is a shorter term contract, I believe, than the others. Yeah, this is only 2 years so that we get all of the contracts lined up with the same termination date. And we can deal with everybody in the same manner.
Thank you.
All right. Steve, did you have something to say? Other than that?
No.
All right. Nobody else? Patty, can I get a roll call?
Counselor Morris,
Yes.
Counselor Oliveira,
Yes.
Counselor Klepak,
Yes.
Counselor Green,
Yes.
Counselor Foss,
Yes.
Counselor Frankie,
Yes.
Counselor Thomas.
Yes.
The vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
All right, moving on to Order 111, 2021.
An order providing for sale of city property, Common Street.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Are we supposed to be tabling this, Steve?
I can't hear you.
Are we supposed to be tabling this?
Supposed to be what?
Are we supposed to be tabling it?
Yes.
Motion to table.
Second.
Second.
The next meeting. Thank you. Can I get a roll call on that, Patty?
Counselor Morris,
Yes.
Counselor Oliveira,
Yes.
Counselor Klepak,
Yep.
Counselor Green. Or Counselor Foss,
Yes.
Counselor Frankie,
Yes.
Counselor Thomas.
Yes.
The vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
I think we've tabled more than we've done. Resolution 112, 2021.
A resolution providing for referral to Planning Board, Silver Street.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any discussion? Steve Daly.
First of all, let me go back one step. I can hear everybody very, very, very well. Your voice is very muffled tonight.
Is that better?
Yes, sir, it is.
There was this little plastic thing on the camera.
This is a referral to the planning board for the board to consider the future use of Silver Street extension between Merchants Way and Main Street. It's an important decision that the council has to make in the not too distant future so that the build project knows how to treat the Main Street end of Silver Street Extension. The options are obviously to make it one way in one direction or the other, to make it two-way possibly, or to convert it to a pedestrian area. It'll be sent over to the planning board. They will conduct a hearing on it and then provide a recommendation back to the council.
Councilor Frankie, then Councilor Thomas.
If we send it to the planning board, they'll conduct a full hearing, not just a planning board meeting. Is that, am I understanding correctly?
Yes, the public discussion will happen there. I think he's waiting for you, Steve.
Yes, I believe that's correct.
Okay.
Councilor Thomas.
This is a long overdue discussion. You know, obviously with the project going on with the build grant and the potential concourse redesign in the not so distant future, the city needs to decide one way or the other what is going to happen on Silver Street so that we can start making plans around that decision. And I think there needs to be an opportunity for a robust public discussion, and it seems like a good place for that discussion to start at the planning board, so that all the interested parties can have a chance to air their views. And then of course that once they make a recommendation, that discussion will continue at the city council.
Councilor Foss, and then Councilor Frankie.
I am in support of this, but I want to make sure that we all understand that this will cause some further discussion as the concourse in itself, just from the last 2 years of COVID planning. You know, if we decide to go permanent pedestrian in that area, it's going to cause more movement down around Pub and Den and Cannoli. So just so we're all thinking that way.
All right. Anybody else? And actually, Councilor Frankie, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, just to piggyback on Rick's comment, this is whichever way we decide, one way this way, one way that way, pedestrian, whatever decision comes out is going to affect the concourse immensely. So I do hope that all of the parties who are interested, which is not just the merchants who are adjacent to the Silver Street extension itself, but also other people who may be affected by the flow of traffic in and out of the concourse. This is your chance to get heard, so please let the planning board know what you think.
And I don't know about anybody else, but I'd surely like to see that just closed and turn into a huge sidewalk or patio, and we can start charging those businesses to use it. Anybody else? All right, Patty, can get a roll call.
Council Morris,
Yes.
Council Oliveira,
Yes.
Council Klepak,
This is a yes to referral to the planning board, correct?
correct.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Council Green,
Yes.
Council Foss,
Yes.
Council Frankie,
Yes.
Council Thomas.
Yes.
Vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
Resolution 113, 2021.
A resolution providing for contract renewal Pine Ridge Golf Course.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any discussion? Steve Daly.
There's a bit of a misnomer in the title here. It's not a contract renewal. It's actually a lease renewal for a 5-year period. And the proprietor of the golf course is responsible for maintaining and operating the golf course. And they will pay us $10,000 a year for the lease.
Mayor, do we need an amendment on that?
I mean, you can if you want to. Yeah, why not?
I'll throw it in there just for sake of
Yep.
cleanliness.
To change
So-
the word from contract renewal to lease renewal.
Amendment for contract to lease renewal.
Second,
Patty, can I get a vote on that? On the amendment?
Council Morris,
yes,
Council Olivera,
Yes.
Council Klepak,
Yes.
Council Green,
Yes.
Council Foss,
Yes.
Council Frankie,
yes,
Council Thomas.
yes,
The vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
Move as amended.
second,
Claude? Nope.
Oh,
Sorry. go
looking
ahead,
at
Claude.
looking at the contract, Steve, while we receive $10,000 as the lease payment, it seems that we're obligated to provide city workers 3 times a year for maintenance on the golf course. That doesn't, that seems like a burden on the city. Can you explain why that's in there? Why they only need city workers twice a year? Seems odd.
I believe Matt Skeen can explain that better than I can, sir.
I don't know if Matt's here anymore.
Look at the contract. When we look at the lease here, we're talking about
Oh,
2
there he is.
days for 6 full days.
Patty, can you bring Matt back in?
Pardon me?
I was asking Patty to bring Matt back into the meeting.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, am I back?
You
Yes, you
are.
are.
With no way, sir.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Counselor Frankie. It's all that language has always been in the contract, even before my time. And I'll be honest, it's rare that he takes advantage of it. But we are happy to help. And when he does need us, he's very, conscious of, when and if we can get there. So it's a nice agreement, and it works well, because when we can spare the workers, he'll take them. But like I said, it's rare that he takes advantage of that.
Okay, so this is just a matter of comity between him and us, irrespective of the lease payment.
It's a matter of what? I'm sorry.
Getting along with our lessee.
Sure, it's the ability on our end and with the timeline and in the ask, I guess. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
Anyone else? And then Patty, can I get a roll call?
Council Morris,
yes,
Council Olivera,
Yes.
Council Klepak,
Yes.
Council Green,
Yes.
Council Foss,
Yes.
Council Frankie,
Yes,
Council Thomas.
yes,
Vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
Thank you.
Resolution 114, 2021.
A resolution providing for appointing members to the Housing Committee.
Move to adopt.
second,
Any discussion? Oh, Councilor Green.
So I want to make an amendment to the motion to add Nancy Williams to that list.
Is there a
I'll
second?
second that.
Okay, we got a second. Patty, can I get a roll call on that amendment?
Yes. Council Morris,
yes,
Council Olivera,
Yes.
Council Klepak,
Yes.
Council Green,
Yes.
Council Foss,
Yes.
Council Frankie,
yes,
Council Thomas.
yes,
The vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
Move as amended.
second,
Any discussion? Councilor Frankie.
can you introduce those folks to us, Jay?
Patty, you have that list there?
I do. Shall I read the list of appointees?
Please do.
Paula Raymond, Minaski Amundsen, David Johnson, Matt Bouleris, Peter Fair, and Nancy Williams.
Claude?
So that begs the question, does this group of people fit the kind of cross-section that we were looking for in the motion to form the housing committee?
Absolutely. I got you a developer. I've gotten you somebody from the planning board. Paula Raymond and Nancy Williams are both well known for what they do in the city. I believe that you have a good diverse group of people that will be able to help guide the discussion.
Thank you.
The one thing I've asked of everybody is that we have actionable information and that we not just have a committee of people sitting around talking about ideas, that we need actual things to happen out of this committee.
Excellent.
And also that I'm hopeful that the committee itself will be inviting other people that may not be appointed. So you'll have people from that own other apartment buildings, other landlords, other renters, other real estate agents that you'll be able to bring in and have discussions with before you come back to the council. Get a full rounded discussion. Anybody else? All right, Patty, can I get a roll call?
Council Morris,
Yes.
Council Olivera,
Yes.
Council Klepak,
Yes.
Council Green,
Yes.
Council Foss,
Yes.
Council Frankie,
Yes.
Councilor Thomas.
Yes.
The vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
All right. Let's see. This is Resolution 115, 2021.
A resolution providing for referral to the planning board.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any discussion? Steve Daly.
This is a proposal coming to us from the planning department, the request of the organization that is working on the ice arena. And the way the situation is developing is that the requirement for parking for such a facility in the zoning ordinance requires that the parking be within a certain distance of the facility itself. This facility and the parking available to it doesn't comply with the zoning requirement. So the request to you to refer back to the planning board has to do with extending the radius that defines within what range the parking has to be for the facility. And I believe, I don't recall the numbers, but in this case, it's going to be far enough out away from the facility so that it does meet the requirement for the number of parking spaces available.
Councilor Frankie.
It will be a general amendment, though, that will apply across the board, not just to this facility.
Well, that was my question, Steve. Is this going to affect all of the facilities in the city in terms of the parking ordinance, that everyone can now use the expanded parking that we're making the amendment to the ordinance?
It will, unless the planning board specifies that it applies only in certain districts, certain zoning districts.
Then it comes back to you anyway, and you make the final decision. Councilor Klepak.
Yeah, thank you. So, you know, previously when we had talked about the ice rink, and there had been concerns about environmental impact, I was actually in favor of siting it there in that empty field. But now that I've looked at that site a little bit more closely, particularly in the spring, I realized that that is an exceptionally wet spot. It is the drainage spot for that entire complex. Everything drains down into that site, and I'm wondering whether, and maybe this is foolish thinking, I don't know, but wondering whether actually taking where the current playground is and locating it there, we could save a couple of the trees that the people have been, so many citizens have been concerned about, and then site the ice rink next where the current playground and tennis courts are, on the higher, drier, more buildable site, and have parking that could be directly adjacent to the building. Would that be solving a couple problems all at once? Is that the sort of consideration that the planning board would be able to address, or is that outside of the scope, their purview right here?
That's certainly not the issue we're currently discussing. I think if councils want to have another discussion about the site of the rink, somebody needs to put that on the agenda. We have signed a contract with these people and they've moved forward on that basis. So what we're voting on here is a referral to the planning board on this parking issue alone. This isn't the time to have a discussion about resiting the rink. If somebody wants to put that on the agenda, they can.
Any other discussion? No, Steve Daly, and then Rebecca Green. Sorry, Councilor.
To add to that, certainly if the planning board comes back with a recommendation not to change the zoning ordinance, that sort of changes the game in a major way.
Councilor Green?
Yeah, I was just wondering if we can send this to the planning board and ask that it be considered for this this location only, or will that have to be a citywide change to the ordinance?
Steve Daly.
That is something that will be controlled by state law related to zoning. Typically, states don't allow, or state laws don't allow that kind of variance from the zoning requirements in a district for a specific property. I'm not sure about Maine law, but I know that it would be controlled at the state level. Not that the state would decide, but state law will tell the planning board what they can and can't do.
Right.
Councilor Oliveira?
How many spots are they looking for parking? Like, do we have an idea?
I don't know.
Eric, do you have that number? I've got it written down somewhere at the house, but I don't have it with me.
I don't know.
Anyway, all of that will get fleshed out at the planning board meeting. That's where these sort of discussions happen. Councilor Klepak and then Councilor Frankie.
So, the proposed amendment here would be a more permissive change. So presumably it wouldn't negatively impact any current scenarios in the city. Or am I thinking about that incorrectly?
No, I believe you've got that correct, but I'll let Steve talk on that.
I don't believe it would. Well, as I said before, I think the planning board may have an opportunity to make it zoning district specific. And it would apply generally where all the zones are that are the same as the one that the ice arena would be in. And I don't know how many there are where they are. But it's unlikely that they can make it specific to that site. That's one of the things, if I may, Mr. Mayor, that's one of the things that prompts me to talk to all of you as I have about revamping or replacing the existing zoning ordinance, because one thing that this zoning ordinance doesn't seem to provide for is site plan approval by a planning board that would allow a planning board to make decisions about minimum parking requirements that they could waive their parking requirements on. They can't do that under the zoning ordinance.
Councilor Frankie.
Well, of course, that begs the question, Steve, about looking at the whole planning ordinance, updating it, and starting to look at Waterville as a city for the 21st century rather than one that's still stuck in the mid 20th century. As far as the short answer to your question, Tom, if we vote not to send it to the planning board, then that means that the whole plan needs to be rethought out and addressed to address the parking issue, which is one of the things that I raised when this first came up last year, and everybody said, "Oh, it was no big deal, Claude." Well, apparently it is a big deal because if we vote to not send it to the planning board, then they're back to square one.
I'm just going to remind everyone that these discussions are really where the planning board is really what the planning board is for. And if you guys vote no to send this to the planning board in an effort to squash this deal that we have already made with an organization in this city, they're doing an end around. And we don't go back on what we have said that we were going to do. I understand that there are changes that others would like to see made. And if you can lobby for those changes to be made, that's one thing. But stopping something from having public discussion is not the way that we do that. Eric.
Well, and I believe if for some reason they did want to make these parking regulations specific to this site, we could create a new zone and put just this site in that zone. So there is a mechanism if they want it to not be citywide. But I agree with the mayor, like, you know, let's not short circuit discussion. You know, this is going to come back to the council one way or the other, but let's let them at least have a chance to make their case in front of the planning board. Let's have the planning board make a recommendation, and then the city council can act based on that recommendation one way or the other.
Councillor Oliveira, and then Councillor Klepak, if you want to say one more thing, you can.
My question was, where are they looking for parking? Like, don't they have to get another site for parking?
Apparently, as I understand, the radius is extended. It will incorporate more of the Alpine Youth Center parking area, and that will accommodate the necessary number of parking spaces.
Okay.
Anyone, Councillor Klepak, did you have something else, sir?
And it was just a question of outcome of the potential outcomes from the planning board. So if the planning board recommends the amendment to the zoning, then it moves forward. If they reject the proposed amendment, what happens then?
Then they're gonna have to figure out what they're gonna do for that parking. And even if they vote to amend, and it still has to come back to the council for final approval of that vote.
And if they voted to not recommend, the council could still take the matter up. Like, we still have the final say in all of these matters, no matter what. So even if they say, no, we don't recommend this, we can then still have a discussion about it and override their decision.
Councillor Foss.
All this after we just had a discussion about handing in $10,000. Unbelievable.
I don't disagree with you. So I will say one thing during this process, and Rick, I don't blame you for the questions that you had earlier, nor anybody else. I will say that somehow along the line, this is a failure on our part, not a failure on our partners. There should have been more information in these packets. There should have been something. I don't know who's to blame. And maybe it's all of us. Maybe it's the new system that we're using or how we're using it. But there just wasn't enough information. And when we keep doing all of these items by title only, and we're not getting the substance of what's actually in these resolutions that we're voting on, this is how we have gridlock. And we had opportunity over the last few weeks to discuss this before we allowed our partners to come to the table. If there were objections, we should have stopped them so that we didn't have our people coming to the table looking for us as their partners just for us to come up short because we didn't know what we were doing. And I don't blame any of you. I know that there's stuff going on, that there's a lot of changes happening. I am disappointed how tonight has gone. Not from the votes that you've taken, just in the nature of what we have done. A lot of these discussions we should have already had long before we showed up at this table. Councillor Thomas, Councillor Green, and Councillor Klepak.
Well, I mean, one, I think we should just vote on this particular, if we're getting a little off topic here, which I'm going to continue. But I think we should move to a vote soon unless people have more things on this particular topic. But I guess my only point would be when you vote to table something, like, you know, these people had come here to make a presentation. And even if you had no intention of voting on, you know, a final decision, the respectful thing to do would have been to have some conversation, let them say their piece, and then say, I need more information, and then table it. Instead, and I'm going to take some blame here for the way this all played out, you know, but instead we sort of wasted these people's time. And, you know, again, I will accept some blame for that, but just something to think about moving forward. You know, whenever you're thinking about tabling something, there's no reason to not just go ahead and have some of the discussion first if there are people here for that discussion, you know, and then at least we can glean some information about, you know, where we're trying to get on the thing that we've tabled. You know, so just something to keep in mind moving forward.
Councillor Green.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that along the lines of what we're talking about, I think that it's always good to discuss further when there are things that aren't clear. And I think that's our job. And so I definitely will be voting to send this matter to the planning board. But I just wanted to bring it up in that spirit of, you know, we need to have these conversations and get all the information we can to make the best decisions.
Councillor Klepak.
Yeah, I am glad that Eric said what he said. I agree with Eric. I even if we had taken all the same tables that we took tonight, I wish we had the opportunity for a little more discussion on some of these things. I know a couple councilors didn't get to say what they were hoping to say before things got tabled. But in terms of preparedness, I do try to be prepared before I come to these meetings. This week in particular, it was difficult for me because I didn't actually, the procedure changed a little bit in terms of distribution of the agenda packet. I never received any notification that it had been prepared. I didn't realize that the initiative was on me to find that agenda packet somewhere in the shared document folder. So hopefully
I don't blame you, Tom. I think a lot of stuff we're changing systems and some things fall through the cracks unintentionally. So again, I don't blame anyone that's sitting here on this panel. We're doing the best that we can, but we have to find another solution that works for all of us, because we need to have this information long ahead of time. Councillor Frankie.
Just two things quickly. Number one, I want to point out that I am not opposed to a skating rink in principle. This one I just don't think has been thought out as carefully as it should have from the beginning. Secondly, I would like to point out that one of the, I think, big steps forward that we've been making, Steve, is your folder system and your willingness to let us know what's coming down the pike weeks and months in advance. As we all get used to using the new system, I think things will move a lot smoother. It'll be easier to know what we're talking about before we get to the meeting. All of the tables that you're worried about, Jay, can be avoided, I think, as long as everybody gets information ahead of time. I know I've been trying to do that. Even the resolutions that I put forward before council at the last meeting, while I realized that not everybody was in favor of my positions. Nevertheless, I tried to get information out to everybody about what I was asking them to vote on. And again, I've raised a couple of issues with the various council members today that I think having to do with budget issues. And these are the kinds of things that with the electronic stuff, electronic communications, we can, find out what other people are thinking ahead of time and not have to put things off because we want to talk about them some more before we vote on them. That's I think if we all can figure out Steve's new system and start to use it, that'll make it better for everybody and smooth out the council meetings in the future. Thanks,
Councilor
Steve.
Oliveira and then Councilor Foss.
Yeah, and my thing too, I'm not like the things that we tabled today, I'm not opposed to any of them. The thing for me with the Alpine Center is there is a difference between childcare and after school care program. So I don't know what those funds are going. So to me, I got a little confused today. They're different.
To clear it up in the future, I mean, we're voting on this. We'll talk about that afterwards, but.
I am going to point of order.
Thank
I
you.
mean that in the nicest way.
I get you.
We have a motion on the floor. Let's vote on it and
All right.
move on.
Can we do a roll call on sending this to the planning board, please?
Council Morris,
Yes.
Council Oliveira,
Yes.
Council Klepak,
Yeah.
Council Green,
Yes.
Council Foss,
Yes.
Council Frankie,
No on parking, but yes for our ice rink. So no.
no. Council Thomas,
Yes.
the vote is 6 in favor and 1 opposed.
Okay, moving on to councilor updates. Councilor Foss and then Councilor Frankie, and then you've got some stuff?
Yes.
I was trying to figure out what night I was going to deliver this, whether it was going to be tonight or some other time down the road. But my life is that, and the wife have purchased property in another town. We will be establishing residence in a couple, 3 years, but wanted everybody to know that it has been a pleasure. It will continue to be a pleasure in my term, but will only bring this one term on Waterville City Council. Time for, we're starting to look at retirement things and things like that. Claude, I'm hoping I can get some wisdom from you. But that's just wanted to make that clear to everybody. And other than that, that's it.
You should have sought that wisdom before you decided to go to Winslow. You
know me, it's in the blood.
Councilor Frankie.
Well, Rick, just as we were starting to agree on everything, anyway, I've heard from several constituents that an assistant city manager, which has been proposed in this budget, does not seem necessary in light of having hired a new city manager just recently. One constituent commented that having a mayor and 2 city managers makes a city of 16,000 appear to be a little top heavy. Furthermore, I think there's some question as whether an assistant city manager is specified in the charter. There doesn't seem to be any language about that. Further about the budget, considering that property tax revenue is flat, a $2 million increase in spending appears to me to be somewhat excessive. The projected revenue sources from not property tax sources, such as revenue sharing, are very speculative at this point. Justification for hiring 7 new full-time employees are estimates with little supporting evidence in terms of their revenue generation. So I think we've got some hard things to look at in this budget, and I'm hoping that we can find a way to reduce the budget to the point where we could possibly have a reduction in the mill rate. That's one of my goals as we go forward, particularly since we've got property revaluation on the horizon. It's scheduled, I believe, for this year, and the city assessor indicated that residential real estate values are likely to increase due to the popularity of Maine real estate during the pandemic. Who would have thought there would have been some benefit to the pandemic? So I recommend that we defer some of the new hiring in order to reduce spending to the point where we can reduce the mill rate. That way we can proceed with revaluation this year, and next year actual taxes for many residential taxpayers may simply return to what they now pay. In the long run, this approach eases the burden on residential taxpayers, while revaluation this year stabilizes residential property valuation in the long run. In other words, to sum up, I think we've got some more work to do on the budget. And I think that we shouldn't put off revaluation. The procedure in the past has been to put off revaluation for this reason or that reason until we get to the point where when revaluation does happen, people's tax rates go up by up to 50%. I think we need to get back on track.
I just want to put this out there before, Eric, I'll let you speak here in a second. Our budget isn't final. And I ran for this seat on stabilizing our tax rate and investing in infrastructure. And I won with 56% of the vote, the entire city. So one of the things I'll touch on is that this budget does all of that and then some. We, for years of last decade, actually going further back than that, have constantly cut our budget to spite our noses, cut our noses off to spite our faces. And this year we've added money for the schools, $473,000, so that they can go out and hire those A-tier teachers that we have been looking for forever. We are using TIF money creatively. The ambulances are making us money. The ambulances will fund those positions at the fire department. There may be some other things that we can knock out of this budget, but I'll be honest that even if you knock out a city manager position and one other position, you're going to save $150,000, and you're just going to get that money back next year. There is no plan for a reevaluation this year. If you were to reevaluate this year, everyone would get hammered. Property values for residential people have risen about 20 to 23%, and commercial has not met that same trajectory. So doing a reevaluation this year would cause the South End to, your average house in the South End is going to go up $400, $500 a year in taxes. That's not helping anyone. Investing in our infrastructure, investing in programs that will pay dividends in the future. Things like KV Cap, for every dollar we give them, they're going to go find 2 or 3 more to match that money. That's how we increase our revenue going further. You have to hold off a reevaluation for a year or two so that the commercial properties can catch up so that we're putting the onus on commercial and not our residential folks. I'm not looking to do a reevaluation where everyone's going to get hammered on the residential side, while everyone on the commercial side gets a slighter, easier breeze through. This budget, although it looks large, is using revenues, TIF money, in such a way that we have never used before, in a more creative way that's going to generate funds for us later down the road. We have always cut our budget. We have always tweaked it here and there, and we've always ended up with having to go up the next year. I said 2 years ago when I sat on this council, and Mike Morris and I fought for the ambulances. Eric wanted to go up. Other councilors wanted to be at 0, and I said that if we went up to that 0.49%, that the following year we would not have to raise taxes. And that's exactly what happened. Last year, even though I wasn't on the council, you didn't have to raise taxes. There was money there. There was money left over. This year is no different. We are investing in ourselves, creating opportunity for the residents in this city to have a year of no increase, and understand that hopefully next year or the year after, we'll be able to do a reevaluation that is evenly spread against commercial and residential. I am hopeful that people understand that this budget is going to be good for them. Those two programs we nixed today is going to cost every adult $2.50. And I know that that's not a ton of money, but if we're going to not fund things like that and do a reevaluation so that we're costing people in the South End even more money than what they have to pay currently, I think we're doing a disservice to residents. This budget does everything we have been asking to do for years. We are ripping off the Band-Aid, and we are giving the citizens the best bang for their buck. We're giving them brand new roads, and we're not charging them an extra penny to do it. I'm sorry that I got passionate about that, but if anybody else has something to say, please go ahead. Eric.
I mean, we're going to have plenty of time to talk about the budget, so, you know, I don't want to get too much into the things that Claude said. I just would point out, like, the city assessor doesn't decide when a revaluation happens. The city council decides when that happens, and we need to plan for that. And we need to look at all the factors that go into what's happening to property values right now. And I'll echo a lot of things the mayor said. You know, we need to, the way we increase the value of the commercial properties is to invest in economic development and make those properties more attractive and raise the rents and raise the values of those properties. And that's ultimately how you provide tax relief to the residents. Now we need to have a solid fiscal plan to make sure that a reevaluation doesn't hit people too hard when it does happen. And, you know, certainly there's going to be lots of time to have those discussions. And again, I don't want to go too much into the budget because we're going to have several meetings to talk about that. I do want to revisit our earlier discussion about when we table items. When I hear people say, I want to table, like before we talk about something at all, we had zero chance to talk about it. One counselor said something. We didn't even allow the people who were here to talk on an item to say anything. And somebody says, my reason for tabling this is I don't have enough information. Well, there's somebody here who was prepared to give you information. And whether after you heard that or not, you were prepared to vote on that item, at that point, you can decide to table it. But to say, I can't vote on this because I don't have enough information, but I don't want to hear from the person who came here to give me information, like that just makes no sense to me whatsoever. And, you know, again, like being sensitive to these people's time, you know, we had them come here tonight and they were like, sorry, we don't even want to hear what you have to say because we don't have enough information about the thing that you're about to give us information about. You know, and so I hope we keep that in mind moving forward when we have people here. It's one thing when it's an internal matter that involves us and the city manager and, you know, there aren't outside people here to talk about these things. But when we've invited people to a meeting to give us a presentation, let's at least let them have their say before we send them home. And, you know, I'm not going to get into the budget stuff. We'll save that for another day. And that's all I have to say.
Councilor Klepak.
Well, I agree with what Eric said there, but that wasn't why I raised my hand. I was just going to say that I think that having a revaluation of the residential properties in town is premature before the housing committee reports out. That I would want to hear what those people have to say before we think about how to structure a city reval.
Thank you, Tom, and Councilor Frankie.
Oh, and just quickly, Eric, you make an excellent point that inviting people here to speak is important to let them come and let us give us an opportunity to listen to them. So what I'm anticipating that in the future, Steve, as part of the agenda, if something is on the is coming up that other people rather than counselors are coming to speak, that we'll be notified of that, and we can look forward to hearing what they have to say, and possibly even reaching out to them ahead of time to see what they are planning to talk about. This is, I think, the council is, if you'll recall, we've got a bunch of new faces here, and we're finding our way. Our recent retreat was an opportunity to for everybody to kind of get to know who's who and what's what. And as we move forward, let's remember that we're all working together on this, and judging from the report of our retreat, I think we're all pretty much on the same page in terms of long-term planning. We want better roads and sidewalks. We want better schools. We want economic development, and we want improved housing. So while we may squabble about this or that, I do think that we're all moving in the right direction.
A squabble with love, Claude. Councilor Green.
Yeah, I just want to add that I heard someone say something about that we nixed the proposals that we voted to table, and I just wanted to say that I certainly hope that's not the case. But once and I do regret the inconvenience for people who came to speak and weren't able to speak. But I think in this particular situation where we had three resolutions very similar in nature, and the first one was tabled, then it would have been difficult not to table the other two. And so, again, I think it was an unfortunate situation, but I do hope that we can revisit supporting those nonprofit partners. I think it's very important. And I echo people's efforts to make our process more transparent, streamlined, efficient, what have you. So thank you all for being very thoughtful partners on the council. And I look forward to more budget discussions.
We're going to have plenty of them, I'm sure. I will say again, I think we had a good starting off. At no point have we ever started a budget at zero in recent memory from Jump Street and then figured out. We've always had to be up and then figure out how to get down. We have presented this year. We started working on this. City Manager Eric, we started working on this, and at the end of January, beginning of February, we were on top. We didn't want to bring you something that wasn't prepared. And to Claude's point, revenue sharing, that stuff fluctuates. There's no COVID money in this budget. There's no added revenue sharing in this budget. If those things were there, this budget would still be at zero. I think if we try to lower the mill rate in the next 2 years, we may shoot ourselves in the foot. You're going to have another governor's election in 2 years, and that revenue sharing can be swept out from under us. And then we'll never have the opportunity to invest in ourselves like we do right now. Anybody else? Motion to adjourn, somebody?
You have community notes, Mayor?
Oh, yes, community notes. I'm sorry. Anna Holden looks like she's got her hand up. Patty, can we bring her in? There she is. Anna, do you have video? You don't have to. I mean, whatever works.
Well, no, it's not giving me the option. So I actually have a couple of things. I feel kind of silly now, but the first one, I wanted to thank the council because I watched the budget meeting, and this is the first time that I've ever like really fully understood a city's budget. I've lived in large municipalities most of my life, so I would think that, like, you know, little Waterville would be easy, but this one actually was. I'm not in the business industry. I'm not a politician. So the fact that the discussions that were had, the explanations about the TIFs and the bonds, and what the money would be used for was extremely beneficial as a resident. It made complete sense as to where the funds were going to be going. And honestly, as a resident of Waterville for the past 10 years, it was nice to hear some of the investments that were going to be made in our own city. So I wanted to thank you all for that. I wanted to also give a very public thank you to Matt Skean. I don't know if he's still here. And I wanted to thank his team with Public Works and Parks and Rec. I'm the chair of the South End Neighborhood Association. This past Saturday on May 1st, we did a small neighborhood cleanup where we focused on parks and streets and sidewalks, the public areas. And with Matt's help, we were able to go ahead and get brush and trash that were in those public areas picked up. And which is a huge, I mean, just driving around the South End since then, it's made a major difference. You know, you can't necessarily, we didn't do couches or anything this time, but just the trash itself, and the fact that Matt and his team were able to help us with that. We absolutely thank you. And also thank you to Temple Academy outreach team, as well as the Air Force recruitment officer who teamed up with us for that small, I say small, 40 people, but it's smaller than what we usually do for a cleanup. And the last thing I wanted to say is that the South End Neighborhood Association is raising money to put flags up along Silver Street. Our Quality of Life Committee is spearheading this effort. Paula Raymond has been reaching out to businesses as well as residents along Silver Street to request funds for these flags. She's worked really hard with Matt, as well as the owner of the owners of the telephone poles to get permission to put them up. And we're getting ready to put them up, but we're still about $215 short for funds. So we are still accepting donations before we look at alternative funding methods. But we would like to extend an invitation to the ladies and gentlemen of the council, as well as anyone else in the city. Rick with his hand raised.
You know me, I'm flags, bikes, I'm good. I'm all in.
I know.
A challenge to every counselor here to match. Let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Match my $30.
All right.
Actually, no. Let's take it up to 40.
Okay. So any funds that we raise over what we need to cover the initial cost will be saved in order to cover replacement of flags. And honestly, you know, we would love to see these flags be raised along other streets, such as Water Street, such as Grove Street, such as, you know, I know Paul and I were speaking and she mentioned KMD. You know, it'd be really nice to be able to see this welcoming force within the city, especially along you know, major roadways.
Anna, where can people give and send money to?
All right. So you can send a check or cash if you want to mail it or drop it off to KV Cap. It's the address is 101 Water Street. It's in Waterville, Maine, 04901. It needs to be attention Wanda Stewart. And then if you could in the memo, put 4 flags. KV Cap is the South End Neighborhood Association's fiscal agent. So they handle our finances. So yeah.
And since Rick asked all of you and I bought pizza on
Oh, that's right. Sorry.
don't
Thank
worry
you.
about it. Don't-
Thank you, Mayor Coelho, for buying all of our volunteers pizza and for helping to pick up trash.
So Rick's gonna write a check for me because he only asked the counselors, so now it's on him.
Hey, I asked not just the ladies and gentlemen of the council. I also was saying to, the rest of the public.
I will throw down the challenge to the mayor, the city manager. I can go down the list.
Yeah, do it.
Bring it
Anna,
on. We love to have all the flags.
Anna, can you send that information out? Because you speak way faster than I can write, and I won't remain, whatever. So send it to me. Is there any electronic options to Venmo you money?
So how about this? We are actually having because I have an email, and I realized that I don't even have all of you on our email list to receive our meeting minutes. So I have an email drafted right now that I was going to reread one more time before I sent it out. If you would like, I can add you to Senna's meeting minutes email list. So you would receive invites as well as the minutes, and that information will be in the minutes. So yeah, and we can also, I will also be including a PowerPoint presentation of our cleanup. So, so yes. And then if you want to try to figure out an electronic version, we can talk. Maybe.
2021, you need a way for people to push a button and give you money.
I do know that there is a way on KV Cap's website, but I'm speaking from South End Neighborhood Association, not from KV Cap right now.
I gotta try. Oh wait, here it is. I didn't even know what my checkbook was. I just found it. It's under some papers.
You might not want to say that.
It's check number 2 that I wrote out of this thing, and I've had it for like 9 months. So you should feel honored. Oh, it's right here. I'm gonna write it out right now. I just need to know. I don't even know if I have a stamp. Honestly, I don't know. Yeah, I have stamps. They're from Halloween. I got them.
Your forever Halloween stamps will be good. Anyone else?
Officials, ladies and gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you, Anna.
Thanks.
Do we have anybody else that wants to speak? It doesn't look like it. I don't see
That
anybody.
is a motion to adjourn.
Second.
AV Cap.